Hey everyone, Ryan Castle, the CEO of the Cape Cod and Islands Association of Realtors here with Adam Dupuy with the Ardito Law Group. We want to talk today quickly about something going on in the market that we've found very interesting and wanted to kind of further explain. A cash offer versus waiving mortgage contingency. So Adam, what are we seeing out there?
Yeah, so because of the historically low inventory, you're seeing a lot of buyers missing out on properties, a couple properties. And so to make their offer more appealing, they're presenting it as a cash offer, which if it is not a cash offer, there are issues with that. There's two key issues. There's issues for the broker and there's issues for that buyer client. So on the broker side, it could be a potential ethics issue. So as a realtor, you have a code of ethics, and it's Article 12, which covers honest and truthful communications. If a broker is submitting an offer for a client as a cash offer, but that broker knows that the buyer will actually need financing, it could be considered untruthful communication. So the brokers need to be aware of that and move forward accordingly. And then as far as the issues with the buyer client, if they're presenting an offer for cash, the listing party or the seller is assuming that there's no appraisals or inspections that would be needed for a mortgage. When in reality, that buyer, although they're presenting it as a cash offer, they're going to need lender's appraisal, and they may need other situations or other inspections that a lender may require. So the difference is if you have a cash offer, you're showing up at the closing table with cash without the requirement of any funds from a lender. In reality, it should be presented as an offer waiving the mortgage contingency so that the selling party understands that there is no mortgage contingency. There's no way for the buyer to get out of the deal for not having the ability to obtain financing, but that they're going to have to participate in some the appraisal, and may have to participate in some other standard logistics when a buyer is seeking financing.
And it may not even be, a lot of times with waiving mortgage contingency, that means you're either as a buyer willing to either not lose your deposit if you don't get the financing or closing cash. You have to do one of those two things if you don't get the mortgage at the end of that deal. Even
Correct.
if the appraisal doesn't come back, if you've waived appraisal contingency and everything else, right?
Exactly. And it's critical for the buyer to understand the risk. So as a buyer's agent, a buyer's broker, it's important for their client to be educated on the risk that they're taking by presenting an offer as a cash offer, or even presenting an offer more technically as an offer waiving the mortgage contingency, and to make sure that that buyer is very confident in their ability to obtain financing.
Yeah, because we're getting questions around, well, they said it was cash offer, now they're going to get a mortgage, and now they want access for appraisal and everything. Like, access to property is a huge thing, because unless you're asking for it in the offer, you're not entitled to any access besides final walkthrough usually, right?
Correct.
All right. So what about though the time period, as an accepted offer? I think, a lot of people are panicking and trying to get their offer in for accepted offer. And then, when we do P&S, we'll talk about the mortgage then. Really, you shouldn't be renegotiating the offer in the P&S, right?
No, and agents and buyers need to understand that offer is a binding contract. So in Massachusetts, an offer to purchase real estate, that first contract, is binding. And they need to have the critical terms, specifically a mortgage contingency, in the four corners of that document, in that offer. Otherwise, they're not going to have the ability to include it in the purchase and sale unless the seller is willing to accommodate, which is unlikely in this environment, because it's very much a seller's environment.
So when writing that offer and you need further help with those terms, contact whoever's going to be your buyer's attorney for closing to go ahead and solve that at offer, right?
Yeah, I think it's always important to have all of your professionals lined up from the get-go. So certainly if you are going to obtain financing, communicate with your lender, make sure you know what your ability to buy is, line up an attorney, and of course have your broker, your realtor there ready, and explain to all of them your plan so that you can iron out any issues, especially if you're going to move forward with, now it's no longer really custom, but it used to be a custom situation where you're presenting an offer without a mortgage contingency. It's critical to be educated. And again, it's critical for realtors to be educated on this issue as well as their clients, the buyers.
All right. Thank you, Adam, so much for today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan.